It's the hardest thing to do in business is to say no to good ideas.
Yeah. Say no to the good so you can say yes to the great.
What I'm really afraid of is comfort more than anything. So this is a very humbling industry. Like if you come in cocky, you will leave humbled in this industry.
Structure isn't a straitjacket. Structure gives you freedom. The best type of structure is going to unleash your capacity. It's not going to diminish it. And when you find those small structures that make the massive difference, that's what gives you that competitive unfair advantage.
It's not all smoke and mirrors, and it's not rocket science either. I can do this. They take off like rockets. I mean, they shoot the moon. If I want their top line to grow, the number one thing I can do is focus on their bottom line.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Scaling the Gap. Have I got a treasure for you today? I am so delighted to bring this guest to you. Some of you may know him from his franchising expertise, and he has been building brands and responsible for growth in such dynamic ways. And I am really looking forward to being able to share his wisdom with you today. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. We're happy to be here. Excited to be here.
Lovely. Well, Matt has been so gracious. I had to move him around when my voice was being all wonky and could absolutely not record a show. So thank you for your graciousness already. And I'm so excited for us to chat a little bit. So why don't you share with our audience a little bit about who you are and the work you do in this world?
So I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Fastest Labs, which is a drug testing franchise based out of San Antonio. We've got about 240 units open in the United States, growing pretty rapidly. Both growing in new unit development as well as growing in same-store sales, which is, it's always important to be growing on both of those fronts in any brand. Prior to that, I spent just under 10 years at Neighborly, where most recently I was the president of Mr. Reader Plumbing. And before that, I was the president of Five Star Painting. Started with them in 2016. Go back even further, I started my franchising experience with Sylvan Learning Center back in 1999. And I started as a franchisee with my wife, who's a teacher by training. We bought a center. Things were going great. I decided to leave the engineering world and join her in business. You know, it was great. We opened 2 or 3 centers. We kept growing, kept having fun. And then the economy started going down the 2000. So when the housing bubble started bursting in between 08 and 010, we started feeling that in 2006 in the discretionary income category. So we had to hunker down and really focus on making sure that we were running a tight ship and closing every sale and providing true value for our customers. And we ended up weathering that pretty well. And we did it in a way that I got recognized by the corporate office and was invited to come out to Baltimore and interview with them. And they ended up bringing me on in 2008 to run their operations, both domestic and international. And that was like, I was in love with the franchise model prior to that, just as a franchisee. When I got to see like the magic behind the curtain, I was just like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. I am supposed to be here helping to scale the 100 businesses at once versus just my few businesses outside of Chicago. It was great to see that, get involved. It was drinking from a fire hose, rapid fire
Absolutely.
process. So I was fortunate enough that somebody introduced me to the International Franchise Association. I cannot say enough good things about that association and the membership and how willing they are to help and to teach and to learn. I always say like franchising is this massive small industry.
Yeah.
I think the last number I heard was something right around 4% of gross domestic product for the United States. But, there's probably 25 or 30,000 corporate staff members in franchising today in the United States. I mean, there's just not that many people in the industry. So you form a lot of really good relationships, and it's fun to go to the IFA event and the faces stay the same, but the logos they're wearing change every couple of years. It's always interesting to see. And now I'm one of those that I thought I didn't think my logo was ever going to change, but it was just a great opportunity to join Fastest earlier this year, and I decided to take the chance, and I'm back in build mode. Like I said, it's a smaller brand, but I'm really having a lot of fun in putting structure in place, taking a great brand with really good people and just applying little structure here and there so that we can scale even faster and without so much work. Like it's when you're going
Yes.
scrappy, it's hard. Uh,
Yeah, it is hard. I wanted to pause on a couple of the cool things that you've said, and then we'll dive back in. So I'm gonna like go backwards and then to the things. One of the things you said was structure, these little structures. One of the things that we tell people all of the time is structure isn't a straitjacket. Structure gives you freedom. The best type of structure is going to unleash your capacity. It's not going to diminish it. And when you find those small structures that make the massive difference, that's what gives you that competitive unfair advantage.
right.
So I love that. Super important philosophy.
Yeah, it really is. And back in my engineering days, back in the early 90s, structure was pretty rigid. And it was this is the way you had mil specs you were following. They were very rigid. Today in franchising, I mean, we don't even print out our documentation anymore. Everything's digital. So the fact that you can make a change when you need to make a change and evolve the process, it's one of the best times to be in business right now because you've got so many tools, so many resources, and the speed at which you can move. Even big companies can move like nimble little companies again.
Yes, I love it. One of the best times to be in business. Amen. I love it. This is, for me, what an exciting time to be alive, right? What an exciting moment where all the acceleration of all the different technologies and capacities, plus the wisdom, the standing on the shoulders of giants component part to where we are versus where people were 100, 200 years ago. We are just light years ahead because of what's available to us. And I just find it so exciting time to be alive. What a
I do. I agree. I think it's a riveting time because what you're seeing today, a few years back, you saw technology coming on trying to replace the human.
sure.
Now people are realizing the technology has to enhance the human, not replace the human. So maybe it takes the mundane task off my plate so I can work on bigger, better, higher value targets. But it is really enhancing the communication, like tools like Teams and Slack and whatever your quick communication, just those little one-off notes. We don't have the water cooler talk like we used to back in when I first entered business, where everybody was in the same location. The idea of remote work didn't exist. So Teams and Slack have replaced that water cooler talk. Even when we are in the San Antonio office, we'll have more little like we might be only just one wall between us, but we're having a Slack conversation or following up with whatever. It's just it's a cool time. And then also the fact that you can work on documents and spreadsheets and things like that together, you don't have to worry about version control like you used.
Yes. Yep.
So,
As long as you don't make mistakes, then you have to go back and version control yourself. I had to learn that. Ask me how I know. So the other thing that you said, which I thought was so exciting, is what a big little industry franchising is. So as some of you loyal listeners know, I come from the home improvement, home services space. So this has been where I've had my career, and I've gone to big conferences, huge conferences in the home improvement space, and they are not the same as the big conferences in franchising. In franchising, people are friendly and welcoming and supportive. And even if you might be offering a competitive service, or even if you might be a competing brand, there is still just a sense of, I'm going to call it almost family, that is, every family has a level of dysfunction, but as an industry, it's one of the friendliest industries that I've ever encountered. And I was just blown away by people's open-heartedness and by the way that brands promote from within their franchisees. So going from a franchisee to a corporate executive isn't a wildly atypical journey. And I think that there's just something so beautiful in being able to recognize talent and pull it up in a way that isn't replicatable or doesn't very much happen outside of franchising. Pretty amazing.
yeah, for sure. And it's always interesting when I ask people come to me and say, well, what's the demographic of your franchisee? And I've been in 4 brands now, and I can honest to God say we don't have a set demographic for what makes a good franchise. We've got target audiences that we're going for, but when you look at the franchisee, it's as diverse as you get. And with that, you get to meet some amazing people with all kinds of backgrounds and expertise. I had a franchisee that was a senior executive at Campbell's Soup, and now he's one of the largest Mr. Rooters in the system and just killing it, running a great business. Then I've got people that were, doctors and
Sure.
pilots in the military, and just, and then you may everything in between. But the really cool ones, when you take that somebody who in their mind when they were getting out of high school, they were going to be blue collar. They were going to be an air conditioner tech, an HVAC tech, or a plumber or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but all of a sudden you see that person making the mental jump up to business owner, applying what the discipline that they know about their trade craft to business and making sure that the business is continuing to be excellent at the actual service that they're providing, but learning the business skills. When you see somebody come, like when they all of a sudden they realize that, hey, this isn't, what these guys do and the suits do, it's not all smoke and mirrors and it's not rocket science either. I can do this. They take off like rockets. I mean, they shoot the moon.
Yes, I love it. It's such an exciting part to watch that internal transformation, right? Because there's two lines of achievement, right? Two lines. There's the two lines of growth, really. It's the achievement, the metrics, the things you can count, the things you can check off. But there's that transformational component where you as a person have to shed what you used to be amazing at. You have to let go of the good to step into the great, right? That cliche, but it's so true. And in business ownership, we tell our clients all day, every day, you are going to be the one who changes the most. You have to grow. Your capacity has to increase. Your understanding of the value of your time applied to different things is going to be dramatically different than what it used to look like a few years ago. That shift and watching that transformation is one of the most rewarding things to observe and to accelerate. Almost, I mean, maybe aside from being a mother, that's my most joyful part of my life is watching people with pure potential, grit, hard work, capacity, step forward and become something that surpasses even their wildest dreams. There's nothing like it.
It really is great. And you get to see in franchising, you get to see that many, many times, every single month, every single year. And just to have that, the franchisee successes become my successes. Those are the fuel that get me out of bed the next day. Say, okay, well, where can we find that story again and again and again?
Yeah, I love it. And you had a really cool philosophy that you shared with me in the green room about driving unit versus brand growth and how there's just a really key component that so many people, both at the brand level and at the franchisee level, and, for those of you independent business owners out there, you too miss. And I was wondering if you could share that with our audience because it's really wise.
Sure. Well, I think you've got to make sure that you're balancing on your legs of your stool, right? Where's your growth coming from? So unit growth, product diversification, and then same store sales growth. Those are the three main components that I've found in the businesses I've run to help grow. And you can't have one without the other. Like I can sell a whole bunch of units this year, but if I don't get the AUV up, because I sell a whole bunch of units this year and don't focus on same store sales, my AUV either stalls or worse, it goes backwards because you got a whole bunch of new owners coming in that bring the average down. So you've got to constantly work on bringing them on board faster, farther, getting them the business set up, almost like business in a box, but actually it's business development in a box is what we're trying to give them. And so they can scale up even faster so that AUV keeps growing. Because when we're in franchising, the total valuation of the franchise, it's your AUV multiplied by your number of units. They both need to be growing. And the other thing that I would say in the unit volume is making sure that you're not skipping the strategy. Franchisees specifically, and unfortunately, a lot of franchisors I know will let them skip the strategy. They set a goal, like, okay, the franchisee says, I'm going to do $1 million this year. And then they jump right into the tactics. This is all the ways I'm going to bring that revenue across the finish line. But you skip that step in the middle of the strategy. And that's important because not all of your product offerings and not all of your business you're going after is created equal. Do you want to go after the $500 ticket that has a 20% gross margin, or do you want to go after the $10,000 ticket that has a 70% gross margin? That has a different marketing, different execution. Sometimes it could be different equipment, different expertise. But as from a franchisor, it's my responsibility to make sure that those franchisees are focused on the highest profit. Because if I want their top line to grow, the number one thing I can do is focus on their bottom line and show them, like, I'm not going to hide the football on any of my franchisees. I get paid off top line. I mean, so I get a percent of the top. So yeah, I want to see that top growing. But to get you motivated to grow your top line, I got to show you how much I care about your bottom line. And profitable franchisees are happy franchisees. Happy franchisees are productive franchisees. And that's the beautiful thing. Like we all grow together and continue to raise the entire brand. And then when franchisees see the passion and the care that we put into their profitability, that's when you get your brand ambassador. So now it's all good. I get better validations when we're in franchise development. I get better reviews through the franchise business review. I get awards. There's nothing bad about focusing on the bottom line of a franchisee's business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and ultimately, that's what's going to make the whole system so much stronger. And I think that care that you show as a franchise executive to that, making sure that your franchisee is actually successful, not just vanity metrics. Of course, it makes your brand more robust, right? Makes your brand more valuable, increases your revenue, et cetera, but it also translates into that familial thing that we were talking about in the franchising industry as a whole, right? Because you live and you die together, right? If you're not doing that level of care, if you really don't care and you're only money motivated and you only care about what you're getting, that's visible, right? People can feel it for sure. So when you can really care and demonstrate the skill and up-level their skills enough to be able to mind that bottom line, that's just that transformational growth happens within them, within the industry, and it's that continues to prosper. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And also, that's the reward that you get from being in my seat on a daily basis, because like you said, those are the things that I think there was a great movie a while back called Collateral Beauty, and there's a lot of collateral beauty in franchising.
Yes. So that's a great segue right into one of my questions I love to ask, which is what has been one of those unexpected, never could have seen it coming when you embarked on this journey, one of those unexpected collateral beauty joy moments in your growth journey?
There's so many, it's going to be hard to narrow down. So I'll probably give you a couple. One, and I, not to name names, but there was a franchisee with Five Star that is one of my favorite stories. Small Midwest, I'd say mid-sized Midwestern town. But this gentleman was a painter. His dad was a painter. He was going to be he was destined in his mind. He was going to be a painter. Married, had some kids, but as an independent painter, his best year in business, I want to say he did. If I remember the story, he did between 360 and 380,000 his best year as an independent painter. The fact that he took the leap and decided to roll into a 5-star, he wanted the systems, he wanted the structure, he wanted to help. He knew he couldn't be on the ladder for the rest of his life. Either, he had to learn the business side so he could increase his longevity of working. And, he had a family of painters. So he saw like, hey, some of his relatives, they were on their Social Security was their only source of income because they got to the age or had an injury, whatever, they couldn't climb the ladder anymore. So he came on and it was a little bit of a stall point. And he was like, I'm just scared. Like if I'm not the one on the ladder, one, the quality's not going to be there. Two, that's my only source of income is when I'm me and my 3-person crew, that's my source of income. Get off the ladder, run more crews, help him. It took a little while to get him going, but then he ended up being our rookie of the year. He did, over 800,000 his first year with us. Then his next year, he was, like 1.4, 1.5 million, and it just continued to grow. Now, the money is important, and that's the cool part. That's what a lot of people hear. But the coolest part is this guy had 4 kids, and when he started, he's just like, I don't want my kids to be painters. Like my dad was a painter. I'm a painter. I don't want my kids to be painters. And his kids they thought when I talked to them, they know, yeah, we're going to go in the trade something. I'm not sure what. All 4 kids went to college. 3 of the 4 kids chose to come back in the painting business. So the guy that said, I don't want my kids to be painters now has 3 of his kids working very successfully in the painting business, as one's a salesperson, one's a production manager, and one's his marketing manager. And they're they're a power to be reckoned with. They are multiple territories now. They're growing multi-brand. And if you sit down and talk to him, he doesn't identify as a painter. He's like, no, I'm an enterprise runner. This is what I do. He's got a peer group of other business owners. And I love these peer groups now, and these business owners today, they break all of the molds because they all got, like, I got a little beard, but these all have like Duck Dynasty beards, and
Yeah, Dynasty guys.
they're just dropping golden nuggets on each other, and it's wonderful to be a part of.
I love that. I love that. So that's the whole, you want something better for your children. And if you're watching the people around you have to settle for a life on Social Security because they didn't actually create a business, they created a job for themselves. They had something that they were excellent at, but they didn't have the business acumen to go along with it. And just the humility that it took for him to say, I know that this model is not working for me, and this is not what I want, and to embrace a system to give him the missing pieces. And okay, the resistance, that's that psychological change, right? That transformational growth precedes the achievement. And when you can make the leap, and when you can dig in, and when you can trust the process, those results are astounding. And I love that he spreads it, right? Not just in his family, but with the peer groups and so on. That's beautiful. I love it. Really, really beautiful. I'm sure that it hasn't been all roses, no thorns. And I'm sure there's been some of those unexpected, not so delights along the way as well. So what's been one of those unexpected hurdles, could never have imagined it when you started it, that has been part of your growth journey as well?
This is a very humbling industry. Like if you come in cocky, you will leave humbled in this industry. So there's been big things like the various law changes, the joint employer, the weird stuff, like back in the early, like say 2018, 2019, when we were having laws be retroactively enforced, meaning, so joint employer under the current law in 2016, joint employer would not have, like there was an accident on the job site at one of our franchisees, painting contractor had a severe accident, did not have workers' comp insurance like they were supposed to, and it was a life-changing injury. But in 2016 or 2017, whenever this happened, the law made no connections to us. Now you fast forward, there's things finally hitting the courts in early 2018, and now you've got a new joint employer ruling that does connect the franchisee to the franchisor, and we get sued retroactively. Like we were completely in compliance with the law and insurance requirements from our standpoint, but they applied a 2018 law to a 2016. The fact that that's even possible to do was I mean, that was a huge education. My chief legal counsel was like, yeah, we're in it right now. So
here we go, on the forefront. Pioneering.
Yeah, so those were some of those things. But I think the big lessons I think that everybody can take away is how important the communication is. And you come from my background, I didn't go all the way back, but I was raised on a hog farm in Illinois. Like it's just basic, corn, soybeans, and hogs. That's all I knew growing up. And a certain type of language comes with that, and certain type of just very factual, everything's to the point. And then you get into franchising, and that one, believe me, that was that language that you're always right, that this is the matter of fact way of saying things, was really reinforced in my mechanical engineering days, especially as a military supplier. So there was a lot of reinforcement of that. And then I get into franchising where I'm almost like, hey, idiot, just do it this way. Well, that doesn't go over too well, right? So you've got to soften it up quite a bit. You've got to make sure that you're delivering your messages. But in what it taught me was to constantly look for the other side of the story, or I had one of my, and this is another thing that's great about franchising is you're going to collect mentors like crazy, right? You're everywhere you go, you have the opportunity to pick up a mentor and learn something. And one of my really good mentors that I worked with at Neighborly, he was famous for always saying, what's the other side of the coin? What's the other side of the coin? Matt, you're missing the other side of the coin. And he was right. I was always missing the other side of the coin. Now I sit there and specifically spend like 2 hours on a whiteboard trying to figure out what the other side of the coin looks like. And what I realized that there's about 15 sides to that coin.
More like a diamond, multifaceted.
So, I'm starting to use, but again, like as you said, all the tools that are available to you, I put my whole analysis of the problem or the opportunity in writing. And then I put what I would do about it, what my plan is in writing. When I throw that all in Chat GPT and says, what am I missing? How do I come out for this from what's the naysayer going to say? What's the other side of this? What am I, again, just what am I missing? And it comes back with, oh yeah, you're missing a lot. And
Right.
it speeds up that what used to take me hours and a little trial and error. We had an issue at Five Star. We went through a logo redesign, and it was one of those deals where it was, and this is, I love Neighborly to death. The shared service model is great until it's not. And when things start at the neighborly level and get forced down into the brands that, may work really well with one brand or two brands, but not so much with a couple other brands. And I had a logo redesign somewhat forced on me. And it was a situation where, hey, I didn't have a say in this, but I'm being forced into it. And my franchisees just absolutely hated the logo. And they didn't hate the logo. They hated that they weren't part of the process. And this, he was like, okay, we're doing a logo redesign. Here's your logo, Matt. Go sell this to the owners. I was like, hey, wait, time out. Let's can we bring them on the journey? No, we don't have time. And because we wouldn't take the time to bring them on the journey of discovery with us of why it was necessary. I agreed with why it was necessary. I agreed with some of the components of the logo, but because we didn't take the time to bring the franchisees along with us, we ended up spending an entire year, and not just an entire year of our life was spent redesigning, going down this, what we should have done from the beginning, going down this discovery path with them, helping them understand why it's necessary, getting them to agree it's necessary, then talk about the components of a successful logo. And for me, from, my mechanical engineering kicked in, it's like, I could care less about this logo. If you tell me the logo, if somebody tells me, hey, you'll make more money with a pink polka dots on your logo, put pink polka dot. I do not care. I want studies and smart people telling me this is what should be in your logo. I'm the last person you want drawing this logo. But at the end of the day, I had to realize that, these franchisees, they put that logo on like
they wear it. They literally wear it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like their football jersey. Like there's some incredible, like we're the Mustangs, like we're going after this. They wear that logo with such pride, even more pride than I did as the brand leader. And that was a very, very humbling experience. But I will tell you, it was probably the most growth in my professional career. And one of your previous guests, Mary Thompson, who is one of my lifetime mentors, I had the privilege and the good fortune to be a direct report to Mary Thompson for about 7 of my 10 years at Neighborly. I learned more from that woman than anybody. She was my guide through that, and the transformation that we saw in the brand, in myself, and in the business development side, it was really astounding to see that. But we had an entire year where we had a distracted system. We had an entire year where we did not focus on what we did not bring home the growth in the business, and franchisees upset. But through the painful process of reconciling all of that, we became a very, very close-knit organization. And we ended up having, 2021, as we were rebounding from COVID, we grew, I think it was 52%. It was that's why I have all this gray hair, is that 52%.
My hairs are really gray. I just dyed them into submission. So.
Going from the logo COVID and the logo fiasco right into one of our, anytime a brand grows by an established brand grows by 50% in a single year. I mean, it's just stress. It's exhilarating, but it's stress.
For sure. And your body doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. This makes the hair go white. I know all about that. One of the things that I wanted to point to, and this is a really cool resource for our listeners, is there's a fantastic book. It's an oldie but goodie called Speak Like a CEO by Suzanne Bates. And one of the things that she talks about is a listening tour. And it's simply bringing the franchisees along, or bringing your team along, or bringing whomever else needs to be a champion of what you need them to do along with you in the process, so that it's not always so that you learn their insights. That's not it. It's so that they learn what you see, right? It's a mutual gift in that, bringing someone along the journey. Even if you already know what the outcome is very likely to be, the fact of letting people learn it themselves, it comes back to one of those fundamental component parts of being human, which is humans. When you have a baby, that baby is unsustainable on its own. So humans are designed to love our offspring. right? We're just biologically designed to love our offspring. And the offspring of our minds, our thoughts, our ideas, these creative processes we go through are no less important to us than the offspring of our body, right? So that's where that listening tour and bringing people along on the process, it might feel slower, but it accelerates results exponentially because they have a level of buy-in and ownership that they can't attach to when they're given something that they weren't part of, right?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think I would change the drinks in the soda machine at our office without running it past our FAC first now. Like we do them on the journey all the time.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and that's a key to success because like you said, they have to live with it. This is their lives. This is their livelihood. This is their business. This is their pride and joy, right? This is something that they're meaningfully making into a legacy, like the, painter, now entrepreneur, now business builder, now empire builder that you talked about earlier. He doesn't look at this as something insignificant, right? This is significant and meaningful and legacy creating. And why would we not want the people who are going to be building legacies off of the decisions we make to be part of it, right? So really cool. Well, this has been so delightful, Matt. I have absolutely loved our chat. I've loved all the little journeys we've gone down on transformational growth, on being able to be mindful of strategy so that you don't get lost in the joy of your plan and jump into tactics and forget that little important little middle part. It almost sounds like what you were talking about, big mistakes that people made, and then talking about this, tricky part you went through with transformation brand. Some reflectiveness in both of those things, little symmetry that we presented here on the show. So thank you so much for sharing this wisdom with us, for going down some of the highs and lows, sharing about, the beauty of the journey from all different stages of life. And I really loved how you hearkened all the way back to the hog farm and showed us how you might learn some things that really serve you powerfully in a phase of your life. But when you transition to a new phase, you have to up-level your skills. And it's certainly not easy. The same journey that you described yourself taking is a journey that a franchisee takes, is a journey that a franchise executive takes, journey that an independent business owner takes, because that transformational component of stepping up, taking what you know and stepping it up, looking at the other side of the coin or all the facets of the diamond is just an inevitable part of growth. Can't get through life without it.
Very true.
Yeah. So with all that being said, those of you listening at home, my flagship question, I have to ask, Matt, do you consider yourself to be successful?
Yeah, it's a great flagship question. It's also a little on the loaded side because I've been fortunate enough to be part of some successes, but I don't know that that I'm qualified to measure my own success. Maybe 20 years after I'm gone, my kids will say, "Yeah, Dad accomplished some stuff," that kind of thing. But I'm one of those guys. I'm afraid to touch the trophy. So I don't want to, because what I'm really afraid of is comfort more than anything. So. Yeah, I've had some successes from my life. I've been part of some rapid growing businesses, been a part of some amazing teams, and have had the pleasure of working with thousands of just wonderful franchisees across North America. So yeah, there's times when I do feel really successful, but at no point am I going to call myself successful or put that badge on myself. I think that's something that has to be put on you by somebody else or by your peers. Is about the best way I can say that again. But I am, you ever see, I love hockey, and like when they're going through, when they win, when the two divisions, when they have their region, their semifinals, and they're, whoever wins, and they're going to go play for the Stanley Cup, they bring the trophy out, and the dude's always standing there trying to get the captain to take the trophy. And no, they will not touch that trophy because it's a jinx to go after the Stanley Cup for it. I'm like that with every goal. Like as soon as I start seeing that the goal is going to be achieved, I start distancing myself from the goal a little bit to start thinking about the bigger, okay, what's the next evolution? And maybe that's not healthy, but it's worked for me so far.
I love it. So I have this little thing that I do that I love to have these conversations because every single person has a different flavor that they bring to this question. And it's meant to be a little bit challenging, right? That's the whole point. because there's so much to this journey. And one of the things that I love to do is to build out someone's success algorithm because it's specific for you. Because this is one of the misnomers, is that success isn't something that's external that we chase and go get. It's something that we be and become. And it's something that we have the power to define or to be very cautious about how we define, right? So that we always have that little string pulling us forward. I have put pen to paper for you on what I think your success algorithm may look like, some of those component parts. And there might be some things that I'm missing, but from the course of our conversation, both now and before, I think I have a couple of little features. I want you to take a listen and see what you think. Okay. So for Matt, success, which he doesn't want to crown himself yet with because he doesn't want to lose the drive. Okay. So we have put that out there for you, Matt. But success equals leaving a legacy, always striving for more, contributing to the success of others, staying humble, building robust relationships, and continuously resetting the evolution to the next step forward.
I love it. I think you probably nailed me in a few sentences there. I like that a lot. Specifically the evolution side of it. Again, mechanical engineer by training, and I don't know if it was DISC assessment, one of those assessment tools. Went through this when I was at Sylvan, and they run it for 3 different scenarios, and my graph was exactly the same. And
that's awesome
for all 3. And the guy was just like, "Yeah, we should probably talk sometime. You might need a counselor for this." But the point that he made, he goes, in your engineering mind, I struggle with, can I make an improvement to it, to the process, the system, the widget, whatever? Can I make it better?
Yeah.
And the answer is always going to be yes. Like we can work on it. We can make an improvement. We can get 1% better. The challenge is then measuring, is it worth that effort? And the engineer in me says, I can make it better. Therefore, I have the obligation to make it better. The MBA in me has learned and learned to override that voice and say, let's measure the expected outcome of this and get it. And that's my goal approach in life, is to really think about this from where do you apply your efforts? Because I think both as individuals and business organizations, I don't think Fastest is going to be Fastest Labs. I don't think we're going to be defined by what we say yes to. I think we're going to be more defined by what we say no to. And we're one of those brands where we're so young and growing at such a rapid rate that those shiny objects keep coming up. And if we can't stay disciplined to our strategy and say, sure, we can go down this path and we can make a little bit of money, but we can also pigeonhole ourselves into this segment of the industry that we can't get out of, we have to think about that long term. And that's how I think about those goals. And for myself, like, where do I want to go to be as broad as possible and be the expert in scaling franchises? So I really appreciate that. That was very insightful.
Yeah, well, I love it. I will jot it down, and you'll have it also when we air the show. Pretty cool. Perfect. I wanted to say one thing about that, saying no to the right things. It's that no is not the antithesis to yes, right? It's the solidification, right? What you say no to clearly defines what it is that you're saying yes to. And if you don't have the capacity, the strength, the courage, sometimes it's even the self-denial. Like sometimes those shiny objects, that is hard for me. Saying no to a shiny object, you have to really be so committed to your yes that no is easy, right? And if it's not that, then if you're saying yes to everything, then you're saying yes to nothing, right? So in order for you to be that hyper-focused and be really diligent towards your outcomes, with the strategy in mind, with the tactics in place, with that, where's 1% better? Sometimes law of diminishing returns, right? 1% better didn't actually yield me something more than what I put in. Like it was a moot point. That saying no becomes a significant superpower.
I agree. And it's the hardest thing to do in business is to say no to good ideas.
Okay. Yeah. Say no to the good so you can say yes to the great. It's hard. Well, Matt, this has been delightful. If people want to find out more about you or Fastest Labs, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you go to fastestlabsfranchise.com, you can see all about us, or just go to fastestlabs.com, either one. There's a Fastest Lab Franchise is our franchise development website, and then you just go learn about the brand there. Hit me on LinkedIn. I'm always looking to connect with folks. I collect mentors like most people collect, watches or any little trinkets. I love to learn from my peers. And then I found that, I think I've reached that experience age, or at least I have enough gray hair that people will listen now. But it's given me an opportunity to teach a little bit as well. And, my goal is to learn something every day. And if I can share that knowledge, share a piece of that knowledge with somebody else, then I think that's that's an additional benefit for the whole industry. Hit me up on LinkedIn or, grab me at Fastest Labs. It's easy to get hold of. I'm Matt at fastestlabs.com. They don't hide the football here.
I love it. I love your sports analogy. We don't hide the football, but we love hockey, right?
Yes.
Beiserman, one of my favorite of all times. I was born and raised in Detroit, so he always taught us, how do you succeed? You skate to where the puck is going to be. And that's a great way for us to wrap up today. So thank you so much, Matt, for your wisdom and for playing full out with us. We so appreciate it. And for those of you listening at home, I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.